about to
Hi, Namaskar, Jule. I am Dilip Jain. Our team is conceiving an idea of making a city township in Phyang village in Ladakh with blessings of His Holiness Drikung Kyabgon Chetsang Rinpoche. This city is brainchild of Sonam Wangchuk, who is an educationalist, environmentalist and a social worker, whose ice stupa form of artificial glacier is being launched today on crowdfunding platform Indigo. The city project has been structured and supported by Mr. Shantilal Mehta, an industrialist from Mumbai. The thought is to build a city that can set world standard on environmental, social and economical well-being. It is for this mission that we have started our journey 3 months back with an objective to study the best practices and aggregate learnings from all around the world. We have completed tour of Lavasa in Maharashtra, Masdar city in Abu Dhabi, Dubai, and today on 20th October, eve of Diwali, we are at Magarpatta city in Pune. Today along with us we have His Holiness himself, and I must add that there cannot be a better day and better way to kickstart this. Let me give you some small brief on this city project. We know that most of the cities in India are crumbling under increased urbanization, poor infrastructure, ecological disaster and social inequality are taken for granted. In fact, we are touching planetary boundaries and long-term survival of most of the species, including human, is at stake. The fast-paced city life, coupled with seemingly comfortable lifestyle, has created a vicious circle, which is good for very few, but not so good for so many others. Increased migration from village has increased the complexity and challenges, and Leh Ladakh, which was isolated from the world so long, is now likely to follow the same path. Is this development sustainable? Can we have a meaningful and healthy growth in such cities for ourselves and our next generation? Few countries have started doing the course correction to make their cities sustainable. Shouldn't we make a beginning before it is too late? I am confident that the Smart City program launched by our Prime Minister and various initiatives by the government will help to bring order and better management. But can we as citizens who are most severely impacted come forward and do something together to make our cities sustainable so that we are in harmony with the nature and not against it? It is with this spirit that our team plans to build a sustainable city spread over 1,000 acres of dry and cold desert land in one of the toughest regions in the world, Ladakh. The city will be owned, developed and managed by locals, which will make it socially sustainable. The city will be constructed by using locally available earth and operate primarily on solar power and water from glaciers, thus greening the desert and giving back more to the ecology than extracting from it. In fact, the city will be benchmark and a global learning center for sustainable development. And finally, it will also be economically good for all the stakeholders. Let us come together for this extremely interesting and challenging project, which may change the course of life of many people and kickstart an all-inclusive way for sustainable development of communities and cities. We are committed to align our actions accordingly as we move ahead in this journey. Now, we will capture and provide you some glimpse of our visit today of Magarpatta city, which is one of the earliest and most successful city developed in India. Thank you.
and because without them we wouldn't have got Magarpatta. Getting the lands together. This is 120 families, over 800 plus beneficiaries. So they have given a power authority to Mr. Magar to handle everything on their behalf. This model was done in '92, but it took 7 to 8 years just to get government approvals. So we started the groundbreaking in March 2000. So all the farmers who tooled their lands, their children, they are part of the entire development of the whole city. So this is all constructed by the original farmer families. We don't have outside agencies who came here and constructed, because between 92 to 99 there was a lot of paperwork. We did an aptitude test of all the farmers who were good in what. They were even taught on construction techniques. Some went into just manufacturing these, the bricks. Some were doing excavation work. Some went into door carpentry work. Some went into doing all the aluminium sliding work. So everything is done inside by the farmer families. So we created more than 300 entrepreneurs. So today they are all on their own. So their children also goes to the best schools, and there's a social upliftment of the entire community also. So that you are going to meet Mr. Magar, so I'm not going to talk more on that area. So what I will do is I'll do on the planning part of the city, how we have done. As I told you, this area is about 430 acres. We have built a compound wall for the entire city, which is about 7.5 kilometers. And we've left a 6-meter plantation belt also on the periphery, because you have traffic on the outside roads. So that also reduces the sound levels coming in. So we have kept 100 of the 400 acres all open spaces. So the greenery is spread over 120 acres. So we are integrating mankind with nature while doing the project itself. So what we did in the center is a 25-acre central garden. So and this center is 25-acre garden. We call it as Aditi Garden, Mother Earth. So Earth has all the basic features like mountains, plains, water body, and a forest area. So we have created all these things like mountains here. We have done a low-lying area, which is a lake, which is not a natural lake; it's a man-made lake. So we have a lot of this rainwater which we collect here. So we do here. This is the water tank for the entire city, which is around 70 lakh liters reservoir. So with gravity, the water is supplied to the whole Magarpatta. So we've got here. Then we have a vermiculture plant, like all the food waste, the vegetables, they are converted into the vermiculture, composting. All the food which comes from the homes or from the IT buildings is converted into a biogas. So we have a 6 tons biogas plant which is already operational here. The city is zero garbage city, so we process all this. The recycled material goes outside, and all the biogas which is here, we use a genset which runs on the biogas, so which is used for lighting the central garden. So in there we have 2 schools within the campus. This is a pre-primary school and this is a high school. So we have the kindergarten here, and from 1 to 10th is here. So here we have an 8.5-acre sports complex. We've got a hockey, football, cricket ground. We've got 6 tennis courts to international standards. We've got Olympic size swimming pool. We have a 40,000 square feet air-conditioned gym also at the same time. And we have one more playground here also, and one more school here called Vidya High also, which is also here. So children can basically just walk down to school. Normally you find is most of the IT parks, they go on the outskirts of the city, and then city starts building around it. So there you have is haphazard urbanization. So people tend to spend 3 hours of traveling there. So the 3 hours of traveling time is into quality time you get here once you stay here. When a child walks to school here, you save 5,000 to 6,000 rupees on the transportation of the child also. There's less stress also. If the school starts at 8:40, the child leaves at 8:30 from his home. For the others, you have to get into buses, you have to get into rickshaws, and then move outside. Parents are always worried whether my child is safe or not.
Yes.
In this kind of complex, you don't have any problem. There were a lot of housewives who never worked because their in-laws had an objection. But when they have an IT park within the campus, so there is, it's taken care, because even during the lunchtime you can come home, take care of the child. There are a lot of creche also which runs in Magarpatta for working parents, they can drop the children there. So everything is convenient for people here. So they need not. So in terms of residentials also, what we have done is every complex will have its own compound wall. They have their own gardens, basketball for children, small children play area. Every home we have provided solar water heater systems. So if you see on the top terrace of all the buildings, we have solar panels. So we heat close to 12 lakh liters of water every day. So even during winters, we don't get boiling hot, but we do get a warm water. So we have come in the Limca Books of World Record also for the highest solar panels, and we have 12 lakh liters of water which we are doing also. Right from day one we have used this. We don't use red bricks here. We have used everywhere is fly ash bricks. This is a byproduct of the thermal plant. So it acts as an insulator also. Those buildings don't get heated up also.
Work hard, right?
Right from day one. In terms of plantation, we have done close to 26,000 trees in Magarpatta. As per the international standards, you should have one tree at every 100 square meters. So every 50 square meters, we have one tree. So we have doubled all the standards also. We have done all the plantations on the time wheel of nature. So if one seasonal flowers go, the other seasonal flowers come in. So that's how we have done the plantation of the whole city. We've kept the city totally cosmopolitan. So we have not done any monuments to any religion here. So it's like all the festivals we celebrate here, but then we have not done any specific to any community or such. We have a music academy also within the campus. It's in the same place here. If somebody wants to learn Indian music or Western music, there we have all these academy within the campus itself. Then there are a lot of people, children who learn all these cultural, those Kathak dance, Bharatanatyam. So we have gurus who come from outside to teach those children. That is done at this place itself. Or we have these community halls in every residential complex. So some of the other activities goes in there. Like yoga we have everywhere. Now we have summer camps for kids also, which we run a cricket academy, we run a football academy. We are doing a lot of roller skating and other things at this playground itself. So certain things which we don't have, like an indoor badminton court, we are doing one here. So we'll start the work here. This is all day-to-day shopping called Destination Center, which support. When you do a large township also, you need a good medical infrastructure. So we have a 275-bed multi-speciality hospital also here, which is, we have a road from here which connects the hospital. We have 24/7 ambulance facility also within the campus. We have the polyclinic of the hospital also in the same campus, just next to Kyabgon. This was mega center in the initial time we had done. In those times the mall concept. This is the Noble Hospital. And here we have the mall and multiplex also. So which is one of the upcoming, one of the best malls of Pune. It's called the Seasons Mall, which is spread over 12 acres and about 1 million square feet. So we have seen living standard, modern education. You can walk on the grass. All allowed. We try to do.
Farmers in this urban area of Pune and Mumbai, they sell their land. They don't know what to do with their money. So their money is all lost in all things which they should not lose it. So we got a different solution here. And they are not educated to anything else other than farming. So what we decided is that we wrote out on the structure where they become a part of the company. They don't get money upfront, but they get money as the development progresses. We have a development company in which they are also shareholders of the company. So there is a value of land, which is a percentage of sale proceeds. So suppose I get 100 rupees by doing some activity, 30 rupees goes towards land. And this 30 rupees is divided amongst all the farmers in the percentage of their holding. So if I am holding 10 acres land of 100 acres, so I am 10% holder. So if 30 rupees is to be distributed, I get 3 rupees. We also, so this is how we land. It goes to the company. Yeah, for development. And from the profit of that company also, he is entitled to get dividend. Because he is a member of the company also. He is shareholder of the company also. So this what we did was, we did a lot of backward integration. We did a lot of research on what things we can do ourselves. We worked as an ancillary model, like in the big factories, they have small units who do work for the big factories, job work. So we trained these people to do such work, which was not very highly technical. We still could be trained, done. So they also became entrepreneurs. So then they started getting a different livelihood of being entrepreneurs. So in one way they were getting the returns from the land. Other way they were getting profits from the company. Third way they were also trained to become entrepreneurs. So they became businessmen on their own. So then once you become a businessman, you know how to use your money. You know how to invest money, you know how to grow money. Otherwise money coming, money going is very easy in India. So you also made them entrepreneurs. So about 80% of the work which you see is done by the farmers who own the land. So we train them to become in various aspects of construction. Today they are on their own, so they don't need any support. So this is what we do. Even their children go to the school here. So the children study here. So the next generation is all English medium educated. So then their living standard also comes up. So it was not really money which was considered, even the social aspect of children education. They stay inside the community. So then they can mix with the community, so they are not isolated. So education, social upbringing, and financial engineering, the three aspects we do. And now they keep on getting continuous returns because this entire technology park is owned by the company. So whatever rentals come, go by way of dividend to the farmers. So they have got money for their land. They have set up their businesses. They have put the houses to stay, and they are getting continuous returns.
Now these farmers are lifetime members here. So they are owners of this whole company is owned by farmer.
This is one of company, but
Yes.
also company.
We also manage power, we manage water, we manage garbage, we do water treatment, everything is done here.
You to during this come up into these conceptions?
See, I also inherited land here, I also belong to the farming community. And this is a concept which we call as social capitalism. We cannot be socialist, we cannot be like China or Russia, but this is social capitalism where everyone is involved. Ultimately, the ultimate aim is to make money or to create wealth. So why not all come together and do it? So then there is no disparity. There is no feeling with anybody. Because everyone is part of the process.
Livelihood, healthy environment, healthy very security, life, social.
Actually, Holiness was very impressed when he first time heard about this kind of city, ecologically balanced, and socially, the value, and also like the financially, the growing. So usually what happens is in the cities, there's a lot of crises after having cities, air pollution, and all this garbages, all this management's problem. So when Holiness heard about all this kind of maintenance, growth of this kind of ecological balance and going with nature and the right use of the
We want to
resources.
do, but we don't know how to do. We're just learning.
So Holiness would like to do such kind of, which is actually for the people.
Have you seen the garbage areas around?
So we are going now again there.
Yes, sir. Interesting things.
See the 5 elements of planning. So what are the 5 elements we considered? We considered security. Because this is a major issue with us. We considered environment. Because we built, but we just finished the environment. We considered education. Because for the people who live here, education is very important. We considered workplace. Because workplace has to be close to your house. You cannot keep on traveling. And then we considered good living conditions.
Last one?
good living conditions.
Good
living
living
conditions.
conditions.
So the community development and all those sports events and all those things. So these are the 5 parameters on which we plan the entire concept. So this is what any middle class person requires, these 5 things.
So this is what Holiness sees, that in your project and in your outcome blooming and the flowers of the project. So Holiness instantly made a decision to come here and personally to have a close observation of what is actually going on.
Yeah, it will be our pleasure to have you.
It was very short time. After our meeting, we just briefed them, and he was in Nagpur, so I thought, let me see if we can come
You
here.
told me, I said, "Oh, absolutely."
And they have been very kind to host us and explain us whatever it is. So I think it's really good to have learnings from
We
them.
want more and more people to do it, so that you don't have these fights about land acquisition, you don't have legal issues. And everyone should get a fair chance.
But
So then you said you have
Now, here resegregation is required as lots of material is recyclable. Means you can recycle the beer bottle, you can recycle the plastic, the tin Pepsi bottles. Also along with the paper napkins and plastic bag. So 17 to 18 items you have to resegregate into different categories. 17 to 18 items we have. We have paper napkin, we have that used paper, we have the plastic bag, beer bottle, small beer bottle again goes. These are all these are separated, then they are filled into bag, and according to the weight, means the vendor pay us for that material, and it goes for the respective recycling persons. The 2 plants, one is of 6 tons capacity, one is of 2 tons capacity. Approximately 8 tons of organic waste is collected here. Whatever the waste is collected inside the room, it is segregated into organic and inorganic. From inorganic, separate again the recyclable material.
waste of
Only food.
only food.
Organic means only food.
Okay, only food is recycled.
It is crushed into the crusher or shredder, and that slurry is loaded to the biogas plant. That slurry goes to processing, that is the primary digestion and secondary digestion, where primarily the polysaccharides broken into the monosaccharides, and after in the secondary, from that monosaccharides, gas is emitted, that is the methane gas. And that gas is collected into the balloon tube, which is fed to the generator.
So this gas used to generate.
Yeah, this gas is the generator.
Electricity.
The generator runs, it doesn't run upon the diesel or any fuel, any liquid fuel. It runs on the gas. It gives the entire load of the biogas plant to this generator. Also in the night time, we run all the ring road lightning is on this generator. It's daily approximately 300 to 400 units on
This how much capacity? How much money can save personal?
actually 60%. Means we also sell the recyclable material, then we also generate the units. So power generation also cost. Also whatever there are multiple cost units, whatever manure is generated also we sell to the restaurants.
Yes,
We have our canteen where all the tea is prepared for our employees. So we have a canteen. And also for dog spot we are given one condition. So that वो पानी गर्म करते हैं उसके बनाते हैं.
use gas for cooking also.
The employees' tea is prepared on that biogas. This is the standby system for our water supply. Here we soften the hard water and disinfect it with the addition of hard soda and because whenever we have shortage from the municipal corporation, we have to run this plant. So this is the standby for these restaurants. We are supplying 24/7 here.
Is short from the outside.
yes.
So we need to cope up the requirement of the population. So we have created all our water treatment plants.
This is is of
This is for the drinking water.
drinking. And it
This
is of
water comes from
This is all the
that raw water comes from the bore wells and wells. Inside the Magarpatta
charged
system.
from the rainwater.
okay.
These bore wells are recharged through the rainwater harvesting system which we have done right from the infrastructure. So through this we have the water, raw water for the water system, for the popular plant. And it is softened and supplied to the system so that I absorb on the top.
거기 되면 내가 지금
Oh, yeah.
you just need fertilizer.
Yeah. Only fertilizer is spent to, and that earthworms are shifted to another bed.
Like the sorting
These earthworms are not supplied along with the manure.
They're different because of how the plants grow.
Yeah, whatever body.
What any food?
Only organic, I mean dry leafy vegetables. See, there are so many canteens inside the Magarpatta which supplies food for the commercial buildings. So there they have the fruit fields, the vegetable and all fields, all dry vegetables, leafy dry vegetables, leaves of cabbage and everything. That is dry, which is dry, which is not cooked. Uncooked organic waste. This comes here from the vegetable sellers also we come
In the mall, the supermarket,
Yeah.
vegetables they dry. Yes. So no use. We use that.
So
Yes.
they throw as a waste.
Leaves also? 3 leaves?
Yeah, tree leaves we have not tried for tree leaves. Tree leaves we have another composting unit. So it is just dumped into the
This is only
yeah,
vegetarian.
only vegetables. Fruit fields, vegetables.
Monday to Sunday, 21.
No. We are just doing means one bed requires three days. to fill. Means every day 300 kg of organic waste is sprayed onto the bed. Then 3-inch layer of cow dung is sprayed. Then the next day whatever organic waste is coming, 3 inch of organic waste and 3 inch of cow dung. Like that,
Oh, that's the first
vegetables
one.
and cow dung. So the
Cow dung.
cow dung. Because cow dung has a nutrient for earthworms. So it's the best nutrient for earthworms. So they go into the cow dung and they feed the vegetables. Because it
No
generates
any dirt, no any dirt. Only vegetable.
only vegetable cow dung, vegetable cow dung, vegetable cow dung. Like this, the bed
So
is
down
spread.
you put first vegetable.
Yeah. Yes. Cow dung.
Outside.
Vegetables, cow
Then the
dung.
warm and the top.
On the top.
On the top.
Straight comes and they go downward. They go as they eat the breast, they go down.
What is
And the indication is that when the bait shrinks to half the body, then the manure is removed. So upper layer is removed. Yeah. And we have to do watering also for twice a week. Because lots of heat is generated. So earthworms may get or any crop. So that vermi wash also we collect and utilize for our garden.
추리 마사 마싱데 소에서 생기 추 마사 마사지 마추 참을 그렇지. 그래서 플란트 비주시 노트리션
See, there are chambers now. We collect from every bed whatever. There are no bacterial culture.
that is a no?
Yeah. Vitamin C, rich in vitamin C.
सीमा एक ग्रुप पिक्चर ले लो. Nobody takes home anything. They enjoy.
One of the key issues in designing rapidly urbanizing cities is not distributing land, but finding ways to aggregate it so that a functioning system of streets with sewers and water, electricity and gas lines can be planned and provided to the occupants of the area. This will help avoid the kind of dysfunctional development we saw on the earlier slide of Bangkok. The process that has emerged is that of land pooling or land adjustment. These two images show the before and after of a parcel. On the left, the previous agricultural land parcels. On the right, the re-subdivision of the land into urban parcels with clearly defined roads and lots. So how does this process work? All of the owners pool their lands either voluntarily or by government decree. The land is then replotted with sites reserved for streets and land for essential services like parks and schools. Some of the land may also be kept for sales to raise money to pay for the sewers and water and other services. Then the remaining land is redistributed to the previous owners based on the proportion of the overall site that they previously owned. They can sell their lots or build on them, and while they end up with less land, they now have services and a well-planned neighborhood. The land readjustment technique is widely used in Asia, Germany, and in other parts of the world. It is equally relevant to large and small sites. This large land readjustment scheme in Kaohsiung in Taiwan formed the basis for a whole new neighborhood. And land readjustment is especially appropriate for creating higher density centers with the appropriate infrastructure and is employed widely in Japan, Korea, and Taiwan in the design of new centers. But it can also help in the reorganizing of small informal settlements coupled with the process of distributing land to squatters, as in this area of Bangkok. The outcome can be well-designed settlements with good infrastructure paid for out of the revenues of the lots that are put up for sale. Again, an example from Bangkok. Perhaps the largest land readjustment project in the world is the Xinyi project in Taipei, which created a whole new government center and modern business district at the edge of the old city. The city of Taipei had the foresight to aggregate the land, which is in a mixture of ownerships, some public and some private, and largely used for agriculture or retired military housing, some industry, and a variety of other kinds of things. The plan for Xinyi consisted of a series of large and small parcels, each for a specific use. Large parcels were generally for government functions, a new city administration building, a convention center, and other needed facilities. The remaining parcels were for commercial buildings, and every parcel had strict design rules that governed the placement of buildings, their height, their form, and how they would be connected to the streets. Previous private owners were given the rights to these parcels, which they could either sell or develop. Today, the Xinyi area is largely developed, just 20 years after it was readjusted. It boasts the tallest skyscraper in the city, and which was for a brief moment the world's tallest building. But most of the structures are much lower and create a cityscape that is respectful of the public realm. Streets accommodate the traffic demands and are aligned with commercial uses. And in the densest parts of the area, a second-level pedestrian walkway system transports crowds of people across the streets. It helps double the density of commercial and entertainment outlets. An interesting twist on the land pooling idea can be found in Beirut, Lebanon, a city with a remarkable physical setting that was once the commercial jewel of the Middle East. After decades of civil war, the city was left in ruins. Many parts were uninhabited, but still owned by absentee landlords, and people who had leases on properties also had a form of ownership rights. Nothing could happen to the center of Beirut without solving the problem of land rights. The government of Lebanon chartered a company called Solidaire, which had the right to take property and compensate those with rights in the property with stock in the company. It was a unique form of stock. Prior owners could either exchange their stock for property once the land was readjusted and provided with essential infrastructure, or they could hold on to the stock and earn dividends from the eventual leases and sale of the sites. Other investors could purchase stock in the company, but it was common stock and it didn't come with the exchange rights. Solidaire produced a master plan for the city center, which is shown here. The design created a grid of streets with large parcels for souks and shopping complexes, planned residential areas, and resorts on the waterfront, and smaller parcels for individual structures in the densest areas. The streets and infrastructure were constructed by Solidaire. 20 years later, the city's on the road to recovery. Most of the structures in the city center are dense but low-rise, allowing light to penetrate to the street level. Arcades line the streets, and there are generous public spaces. Much of the architecture is deliberately reminiscent of previous decades. The city designers sought to create a city that would seem like it had always been there. But there are modern shops and street cafes and a lively street life as well. Indoor souks continue the tradition of open-air covered shopping areas that is predominant in so much of the Middle East. And the jewel of the new Beirut is its waterfront, where tall structures capitalize on the view and public promenades line the water's edge. None of this would be possible without the land readjustment and the unique way that owners contributed their land and combined it with outside investors' capital. Innovation in land tenure created the opportunity for innovative design. As we've seen from these examples, the question of land tenure goes hand in hand with the design and improvement of communities. For many, owning their home or small-scale property is on the critical path to achieving economic stability and better living environment. The insurance of control unleashes the willingness to improve properties. Without assured tenure, many of the structures will only get minimal investment. But as we've seen, there are other forms of tenure than simply owning property. Land leasing and cooperative ownership can help cities prevent windfall gains by investors or owners who simply happen to be in the right place at the right time. And they can assure that there are funds available for long-term maintenance and reinvestment in the public.